everyone. This is James Morgan. Welcome to the first conversation of a series of conversations of the James Morgan Jazz Conversation Series 2026. The launch will be on January 1st, 2026. And I have a great guest to launch the series. I already have about 12 people booked already. I've done quite a few interviews, but this is the one I've been looking forward to. Not really interview, but a one-on-one conversation with Gary Husband, who's known for playing piano and drums, and he plays guitar. He's an educator. The list goes on. But just to give you a little idea why I'm doing the series is, as you know, the music landscape has changed over the last few years. A lot of musicians choose to stay in a room and film themselves playing music and putting their music out there, and they're known for doing licks and that kind of thing. So I wanted to kind of bring more of a human, organic aspect of music for them to kind of see that's still out there. Musicians that are still playing with other musicians, which I feel is important because that's where you find your voice, especially when you're improvising. And going to clubs, going out to see music, just to get a feel for that there's a career out there that you can pursue that's viable, and it's not just about sitting in your room. And I'm sure a lot of people are making great money posting on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, but there's a great joy in playing in front of people. There's a great joy of playing with other musicians because you're sharing stories together, and it's just an amazing thing. So that's kind of the purpose of the series, and I hope people find value in it. And my guest, Gary Husband, actually was born in 1960 in Leeds, which is about 200 miles north of London. And he did have a lot of music around in his house. His mother was a dancer, dad was a musician. I'd like to find a little more about that. And he had classical training, where his roots are from, but he branched off and he's done rock. He's played with all the great players, Beck, Bruce, McLaughlin, Holdsworth, everybody knows. He's he's played with great people. And at the age of 16, he became the drummer of the Sid Lawrence Orchestra, which I want to find out more about. How did that happen? And also the other orchestra that was popular at the time was the Ted Heath Orchestra. So there was kind of a rivalry going there. So without further ado, I want to welcome Gary Husband. How are you today, Gary?
I'm great, James. Great to see you, man. Thank you.
You're in Hamburg, Germany. It's probably not very warm there.
Yeah, I'm not eating a hamburger, but I am in Hamburg, and
Yeah,
it's definitely not warm. No.
and you are the busiest, hardest working musician I know out there, because every time I look on the internet or read something, you're recording an album with someone, with McLaughlin or other people in other countries, and
Yeah.
you're touring and you're playing, do an anniversary tour with Cobham, and you just put out your own album, Postcards from the Past, which is a double album, which I want to
Mm,
talk about as well later. And one of my favorite songs is Song for Your Mother. And you play guitar in that, don't you?
I do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, just amazing
I,
song.
I'm. I mean, you say play, but
Yeah,
I'm not a formed player at all. But if you want it badly enough, you find a way.
sure. And I always refer to you when I talk about you to other musicians in the interviews and other things. I consider you a musical poet. You're like a poet without words. The way you play your drums, the way you play your keyboard, your story, the way you phrase everything. To me, it's like especially this last album, it's like these snippets of these of poetry. Really, you're like a poet with your instrument, and it's an
Well,
amazing it's an amazing thing to watch and experience. Yeah,
man, it's too kind of you to put it that way. I mean, it's just a, you know, exactly as it is with you and all of us. It's a thing of constant refinement, constant development, constant pursuance,
Yeah,
and just trying to get to the core of the essential of all we're doing, really,
yeah,
in the music. Hard to put into words, but you know.
yeah. Well, viewers may not know, but the only time we recorded a five-song EP together, A Soul in Time, in 2024. We produced it with our late great friend Dean Brown, who passed away
Yes.
almost 2 years ago next month. And we I just won an award for the Intercontinental Music Award for Best Contemporary instrumental song, Feathers Touch, where you did some great piano work. And a lot of
Thank you.
viewers don't know that, but we only really talked because we were doing interviews for that release. It was the only time we got to really talk, but today we get to talk one-on-one, which I'm excited
Yeah.
about, you know.
Yeah. Me too.
So when you grew up, just to get back to the beginning, when you were taking classical lessons, and uh,
Yeah.
when you were a child, um, what kind of influence were your parents? Were they driven to have you take lessons and play, or was it something you were interested in and they supported? How did that happen?
Oh yeah, yeah, they definitely supported me, but I had the advantage of having parents who were very much uh part of the business one way or the other. My mother was majorly a dancer, as you um pointed out there. But she also sang. My father was a great arranger, kind of more of a sort of all-around guy, although his principal instrument was flute. And
Oh,
he had a one, and it's like one of those magnetically recognizable, I just hear him and it's him.
yeah.
And he just had that beautiful, like in the orchestras he'd work in, he had very much that kind of Johnny Mandel kind of flute
Oh,
beauty, just the real beauty of the flute. He just knew how to make that thing talk.
yeah.
And so I mean, as far as I was concerned, I was just coming from this position of advantage of yeah, having that constant support. I think the only thing that my dad really stuck out for me was to uh go about piano classical. So he said, if you're going to play piano, you're going to study classical piano. That's the only way. And boy, did I get to realize the meaning of true pain.
Yeah.
I, yeah, because classical, I mean, if you go through real classical, you have to read the Leonard Bernstein book or something. And
Right.
and in that, his revelations there shine light on his piano training, formal former classical training. And the experiences were very similar.
Yeah.
Where I had a teacher who kind of got off on kind of brutality, intimidation,
Right.
violence sometimes. I mean, it was real kind of 1970s old school
Very
classical teaching.
stern, sounds like.
Oh man, yeah, it was. Yeah, it was hard. I
Yeah.
mean, the thing was, my mom and dad, they knew I was coming from this place with with leanings to want to improvise. They knew that right from the very beginning.
Yeah.
But it was all about the grounding for my dad. He said, it's classical or nothing. And
Hmm.
and and I will forever be in thanks to him for that.
So how did you transition from piano to drums? And how did your parents view that? And did you transition to drums because drums was an instrument that you could improvise more with, that you felt a little more freedom?
Well, I used to witness the drummer in a dance band. It wasn't so much a dance band, although it was called the Northern Dance Orchestra. And this band used to do BBC broadcasts sort of week in, week out. Um, and I guess you could tag that a radio band, in that not so dissimilar from the band I'm working with here in Hamburg, actually, the NDR, the Norddeutsche Rundfunk big band. And they're just playing new music week in, week out, and sight reading, and it's an incredible organization, and very, the standard is very inspiring. They're all fantastic soloists, and at the same time, the unity in how they play together and the experience inherent is all on view. It's just terrific. It's a wonderful big band. And I usually come here and play drums, but this week I'm playing piano.
Oh, okay. So you went,
But
yeah.
so yeah, I
Let's go 40 years back.
yeah, 40 years back. Well, I don't. So I used to watch my dad in this situation at probably my earliest recollections, really, of not being in the gods on the balcony of this former Victorian theatre, which is like a BBC studio. Um, and I used to just watch them go for takes, and the real instruction to me was that if you see, when the two lights came on either side of the stage that said the recording, you be quiet. You don't even
Yeah,
cough. Okay. And so, I mean, I was getting sort of well versed in the studio discipline from a very, uh, really, in my formative years,
yeah.
as a kiddie. So,
So,
but and in that band was a great drummer,
yeah,
and I saw him, just like the situation here, also turn his hand to and navigate that band in all areas of music, exactly what was required. Um, he had this terrific way of centering the band. This was all really apparent to me, but there was just something about the drums
yeah,
and the central element they provide in music, and I was just really getting into it, although I didn't really know it because I'd been so steeped in the whole piano side of things
right.
around that point and up to that point. So I was kind of realizing a leaning towards drums, definitely. And then in 1972, when I was the grand age of 12, I saw John von Ohlen play drums in Stan Kenton's band on TV.
Oh,
You could actually you could actually see on primetime Saturday night TV, broadcast by
yeah,
visiting big bands of the era and stuff like that. And I was just I was just stunned by this guy.
yeah. So that
He
was like a
was
turning point for you.
That was it.
Yeah,
I mean, that was really it. I mean,
yeah. Because
I uh,
to your point, to that being it, I just interviewed a bassist, Brendan Rothwell, and he was a violinist, and
yeah,
he switched classical, like you, piano. He switched to bass from at a moment like that, where he was listening to
yeah,
Miles Davis' Tutu album with Marcus Allen on it. And
yeah.
when he heard Marcus Allen, he started playing bass. So that sounds like you had an exact moment where you knew it. You had an epiphany, sounds like.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. There was no doubt. There was no doubt. And the great thing was that since I'd been with this teacher a couple of a few good few years now, I was ready to leave the academic world behind, so to speak, and include much more of a improvisational activity with the piano. I mean, it was absolutely ruled out by my lady teacher, and I wasn't even allowed to sort of talk or even think about jazz or improvised or electric music or anything. So one day when she particularly really laid into me, I think she'd sort of hit me a couple of times. She used to have this kind of cane
Hmm.
she'd lash me with, very nice,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
And lovely experience it was. And so she incensed me so much that I'd sort of looked at it and said, well, you know what? I've been having some thoughts really, and I'm adding another instrument to my life. And she said, "Oh, really? Why would the usual kind of like, why would you want to even try, kind of
Uh,
thing, belittling thing
yes,
that she had."
condescending.
Uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And and I said, actually, it's drums. And if her face wasn't sort of crumbling with
Uh,
this horrified expression enough, I said, jazz drums. you know, and she went, horrified
yeah,
being the word. She was absolutely outraged at
yeah.
this.
Well, you were being an imp.
Yeah, that's right. And she said, "Well, I'm going to call you father. That's it. I'm not seeing you anymore. That's the end." And I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was actually a kind of twofold,
Hmm.
extremely
Freed you. You found
fortuitous,
freedom.
yes, period where I sort of instigated the end of that, but also a new way for me to get involved in music, which was very exciting.
And so, how did you transition from that epiphany to cutting the strings with this oppressive teaching regime that you were in, basically, to becoming a drummer, taking lessons from Jeff, and then becoming the drummer and
Yeah.
being on television at 16 years old? I mean, that's just like people usually don't get there until 10, 20 years into their career.
Well, the thing is,
How'd that
the
happen?
well, it happened because I was so used to witnessing the big band recording all those sessions, recording sessions I attended. It was a big band, it was a big band lineup, and they played their fair share of Basie and Woody Herman and all this. And I was really taken with big bands. I thought big bands were very exciting to me.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
of course, my influence, John Von Olen with Stan Kenton and all the other big band drummers that I was witnessing, Mel Lewis, and oh, way too many to mention, really. Um, and It so happened that I think he was third trumpet or fourth trumpet, Sid Lawrence, this guy, had set his own orchestra up, and his biggest really sort of claim to fame turned out to be his transcriptions of Glenn Miller music.
Mm,
And he had and it just really hit, at
yeah.
that point in England. Um, People were ready for that kind of nostalgia, and to hear such a band of such quality. I mean, he had an impeccable ear and could transcribe faultlessly, and and it required authenticity to the period. But I was kind of well versed because I was listening to so many records, and of
Right.
course all the records of my dad and that my dad passed down to me and stuff, and all the stuff I was saving up and acquiring myself. So I was becoming more and more um, proficient, really out of passion. I loved the fire, and I loved the energy and the propulsion in big band playing, and
Oh,
and
yeah. Yeah.
and studying all these different players within that context. And so when it came time, Sid had already formed his own band. They were making a name for themselves with this nostalgia thing. And he was suddenly without a drummer. And of course, Sid and my father went back quite a few years. And
Oh,
Sid actually used to come and stay at the house many times when he was on the road, which they were consistently.
yeah.
Um, and he'd say, how's your lad doing on piano? He said, well, he's doing good. He's doing really well, but he's playing drums now. And he said, really? That's really interesting. I remember that evening. He said,
Oh,
well, how
great.
how how good is he? And my dad, in his wisdom, said, why don't you set up an audition and find out for yourself? So uh, he did. And actually, my audition was a sound check for a gig.
Oh,
So my audition was the first gig, really. And so he'd given me sort of 3 or 4 nights to start with to see how it went and everything. And he seemed really sort of pleased. I'd really applied myself. I
oh,
knew
yeah.
a lot of the sort of mainstay popular music that they did, but the pad was like 350 charts bold. So sight
Wow.
reading was a
Yeah.
an absolute requirement. And so coming from piano, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
No problem.
Yeah.
Main thing was just getting the authenticity close. I mean, I was never going to get that
Right.
absolutely so, but it was okay, and it had fire, and it had the kind of excitement that he was looking for. So,
And plus, you, it
uh,
sounds like you had a platform to learn about
yeah,
playing, the whole etiquette of playing with a band and tour, doing all that, you know,
yeah,
because I'm sure you didn't know anything about that until you joined them. And so you had this whole education besides just the music.
yeah, yeah. It's a life education. How do you, because the band was constantly on the road, so it's like,
Yeah.
how do you buy a train ticket? How do you
Yeah.
where do you sleep? How do you, and I'd sleep on stations sometimes,
Oh,
just in order to be able to meet a bus that took me to a service area station
wow.
in one particular location, get picked up by one member of the band, and then they'd go there, and then we'd meet at another service station, and more people would join it, and it was all like that, a constant daily
Yeah.
thing, a
Right.
grind of having to do that. And that was that, these were all the other aspects that came into play, sort of real
Yeah.
life experience stuff.
Prepared you for what you do now, really, in that sense. So did you find when do you feel like you found your voice with not just piano, but with drums? Was there a time or was there a period where you kind of found like, oh, I enjoy, you know what I mean, your movements and your phrasing, where you just knew you had your own voice? When did that happen, do you think?
Well, I don't know when, I can't honestly say when
That would just be during a period, was it? Because you
I mean,
ventured off into rock after that, maybe, or jazz. What happened after that?
well, right after that, I pretty much moved to London and became active in all the sort of fusion bands
Okay,
well, quite a lot of them at the same time in
right,
London. That was my biggest working period in London, actually. It was never
right.
like that again. But and I wasn't part of any of them that would have me, basically. I mean, I was just hungry to just eat, breathe, and
Yeah,
live music. It
yeah,
didn't matter what it was. And there were all kinds of people back then. And I'm grateful for every one of them, because every one of them gave me such perspective on the point you raised, maybe behind this whole series, where you're talking about the actual act of playing, the interaction between the musicians, and the experience of playing live, and everything, and all the requirements and everything that goes with it. So I just wanted to keep going,
yeah.
and I was doing anything from sessions to weddings, to plenty of jazz clubs, of which there was a whole great map of them in London at that time. A lot of them were pubs, but there are also a lot of clubs too, and
Hmm.
there were plenty of places to play. It's a very, very different situation to today, of course, as you also pointed out.
So, transitioning from that into the going to London, was there
Yeah.
like a musician or was there a certain musician or album or kind of music that had like an impact on you the most?
You mean of things I was listening to by other people?
Yeah, was there like an
Oh
album that
my
was
God.
just, just this is what I want to do, or I want to something like that? What?
Yeah, well, I mean, the whole thing it's been so the whole listening thing for me was always so diverse. I mean, we used to hear. I mean, in my house we had singers. I mean,
Mhm.
amazing singers that do an equal part to my mom and dad. Um, so I was listening to people like Judy Garland, Astrid Gilberto,
Right.
Lena Horne. Oh my God, she was electrifying. I mean, all these people gave such a character and voice, seemingly of their own. It was something that they had individually, and was exclusive to them. Plenty of Sinatra, of course.
Mhm.
In that you heard the phrasing. I took that and applied that to drums.
Yeah.
I mean, all of these, of the really great singers, the great interpreters of popular song back then. and it was such an education. And I think I had the incentive to the incentive, the motive, the I wouldn't call it wisdom, but I certainly had the urge to integrate what they were doing with their voice, or a particular
Hmm.
instrumentalist. You
Yeah,
know, Miles Davis was a big revelation to me because,
yeah.
it's
Well,
it's a
because I
time.
in your playing when I listened to it, and I think I said it before, you have a very melodic way of playing drums, like a singer. You have the way you play guitar, the way you play piano. It's almost like I could see in like a fairyland, and you have you know, where all the elves and the people, the fairies live, where it's just, and the way your music is just dances, your drums, the same thing, because I've played with a lot of drums. I've listened to a lot of drummers. A lot of them are just straight ahead, keep the beat, this and that. But with you, you just add so much color and everything. And maybe now I'm thinking from the story you're telling, listening to all the singers and the big band and all that accumulation of experience just kind of came through you in that way. That's
Yeah,
why you
and
play that way.
mix that with all the overhang of the classical years too, because there was, I'm still listening to Stravinsky's Mass, and
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
thinking this is just commonplace,
yeah,
great
yeah,
classical music. I'm listening to Tony Williams' Lifetime, thinking that's commonplace electric music I mean,
yeah,
but
yeah.
these were incredible movements,
So,
all of these
so,
things. So
so your new album, Postcards of the Past, that's can you talk a little bit about what inspired you to do it? And just the songs, what the songs are, where they came from, and just what the whole concept of the album is to you.
well, it kind of starts around the time. If you're familiar with the album, you'll hear a few tracks where there is that I've done from the past with Steve Topping,
Mhm.
and this is kind of like a guy I met when I was 14, and he was really interested in um, the expression. I mean, there was certain stuff coming from Lifetime and the influence of Mahavishnu and everything, of course, which we both loved, but we very early on actually sort of brought about a kind of way of speaking to each other, sometimes in silent tones and through silences, and just a way of interacting that wasn't sort of full on all the time, like a commonplace
Yeah,
digging in thing all the time, and nothing else. We were going after something that really borrowed from the classical, I think, much more, and the abstract.
yeah,
And the movie and the imagination and everything about that period was really super about, I consider, where I started finding myself. And
yeah.
since we were talking about that voice just a
Right.
moment ago, you can thank Alan Holdsworth for that, because he was the first one to set me free.
Okay. All right. So
You
there,
know,
yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, truly free. I
Yeah,
mean, there
yeah,
wasn't any direction of any kind with this guy.
right.
So
Yeah.
I was busy, as I always did. I'd do my research on whoever I was going to work with or play with, and not an easy thing without the internet in those days, but you could do it.
Well, a lot of the songs on the album, which is a double album to those
Yeah,
who haven't heard it and need to listen to it, you could
yeah.
be music for movies.
Oh, well, I'm glad you say that, because I always felt that propensity. I really wanted to get them
Yeah, you
somehow.
you could definitely. I mean, I've heard some of the drum stuff that you've done, just drums alone. You could do. I mean, it invokes so much imagery. I could see chase scenes. I could see uh, aftermath of, you know, uh, after something happened that was intense and then relaxed. There's a lot of tension release.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Well, yeah,
the concept is just to bring a bunch of recordings from the past to.
yeah, it was. I mean, these were the ones that got away,
Mm,
James. That whole record consists of tracks that were evenly, a spread section of things. Pro recordings in the studio, record or demo recordings that I'd done, but just that had something.
Right.
Similarly with the Alan Holdsworth track, it's never been available to hear before.
Yeah.
The Things You See, it was recorded only a few months after I met him.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, so it just kind of documents
Uh-huh.
the time that we had, and kind of, if it's impressive to me at all, it's impressive to me because of my love for it and the
Yeah.
voice of Alan, that I suddenly became immersed in that world.
Right.
Um, but it's also impressive, I think, that we kind of knew what we wanted to do with each other. And that's quite an interesting, more than impressive, interesting, I'll say, because um, I'd been used to I'd been used to just about every musical situation, apart from these sessions I was doing with Steve Topping, um, whereby I was being told what to do,
Right.
or there were charts, or it was like, this is exactly what we want, and it was all very specifically laid out and made clear to me. So I know exactly what they wanted from me, so I just do it.
So it
And
sounds like
then
Alan didn't want anything from you. He wanted
no,
you. Yeah.
he said
Which,
so. I
yeah.
mean, the biggest insight I got, really, because I used to visit him quite a lot of times at his sort of his home, his apartment in Kingston, and he'd actually play me things like from the first album, Out From Under and stuff like this. These were all tunes that he hadn't tried with anybody before, and he'd only just finished writing, actually, just a few of them. Letters of Mark was really new, and he was showing me them. But he wouldn't let me record them, which was kind of interesting. But
Yeah.
he said, "No, no, you'll remember it." And
Yeah, like he let you
so
look at the presents under the Christmas tree, but you can't open them.
right, so I mean, and I had no idea. I mean, these chord, the placement of things were coming in at all. I mean, it just seemed very, very abstract to me at the time, until I started watching his foot,
Yeah.
and this was very helpful, because and I'd watch him. I'd ask him to do it again, and I'd watch his foot again, and there'd be slight variations on where he'd put his foot down, but they showed a definite kind of rubato in the music.
Uh-huh.
And at that point, I realized, actually, he doesn't. He wants a stretch there. He wants a slight pause there, and he likes this little bit to slight accelerando. All the things inherent in classical.
Yeah.
And this was very unique to Alan, I thought. So I thought it would be not actually of prime importance to highlight those on
Mhm.
drums, and find some way of interpreting them within the music that expressed those pushes and pauses and pulls and everything like that. So out of a wish to do something, I just set my imagination going and thought, what could I do? Maybe a beat like this, which picks up on that, but it isn't quite, and it also acts as a springboard for this fairly
Mhm.
well. So I think compositionally, again, the advantage of piano and composition and everything else aiding a drama.
Right.
And this was, I mean, I didn't think about it at the time. It was
Mhm.
normal life. And to me,
Second nature.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So,
And it sounds like you almost had a te telepathic connection with him. I mean, I would liken it to Cobham and McLaughlin when they would do duets, just guitar and drums. When
yeah,
you find a connection with certain musicians, it's there, you know?
it was there. And it really was from the very beginning. We just had an improvised jam and just played and played and played.
Mhm.
And we had no idea, but we just knew that it was working together, and it just had a kinship in there.
Yeah.
And he was looking for somebody to play with, and of course I was looking for something. I was just looking for any musical adventure I could find, and this was something else. So I
Yeah.
was I was very, very, very lucky.
Yeah. Well, you definitely were on the been on the road to Oz, as I would say, the Yellow Brick Road. You've had a great musical journey so far. But on the album
Yeah,
that you have out now, which is really great, and again tell
thank you,
people to listen to it. What do you
thank you.
hope people feel from it or get from the music? Um,
Well, firstly, initially, I think most importantly, I hope people feel an experience of a journey through the album. I like it to play like a movie. You know, we're talking about
Mhm.
movie again.
Like a
I like it to
discography.
play it as if a movie plays, and maybe you start forming opinions of where this might go in the early stages of the movie, and you're not quite sure. In actual fact, it goes there, and nothing
Yeah.
to do with where you thought it was going to go, and all this. So the sound of surprise, you know, as Charlie
Yeah.
Mingus said, jazz was.
Hmm.
I love that, and to open the album and just get a great playlist together, even if it meant leaving some things out, which I did.
Hmm.
Um, but just to get something that takes you on a just that really like a journey, a bit like a movie.
And
So
then,
and also to give vent to these things that have been locked in cupboards, you know, on whatever formats they were too. Some of them cassettes, some of them DATs, some of them mini disc. It was a big work, you know, trying to improve upon in sort of technology terms the you know
yeah,
the compromised state of some of these things. But luckily I had a great audio restoration guy, and
yeah.
we got some good results.
No, it's a body of work I think people should listen to. For me, it is like watching, for lack of a better word, a discography of your life in a
Yeah,
sense, from a
it's very
period of
personal.
time to a period
Yeah,
of time. Yeah. And it's nice because I can hear change. I can see evolve different playing and how you play the instruments and
yeah,
like not an evolvement, but just different directions. And
yeah.
it's to me, it's exciting because you don't know what to expect.
Well, I like the fact also it's not chronological. So it actually,
But yeah, yeah, I know what you're
you know,
saying.
yeah, and in terms of like all these different particular eras and
Right,
involvements that were happening, they weren't in any kind of
right.
line going
But
from
you
the
can
very earliest
still,
to the, but
yeah, yeah. You can hear
yeah,
all the different flavors that you have, and because I listen to one song and then I'll listen to this, and it's more electronic in there, and then it's more abstract, and it gives you, I think, I guess what I'm trying to say, that's why I said lack of a better word. It's gives you insight into how you more of who you are as your soul, who you are as your inside, because it's really to me it's very moving music. Yeah, again, but the other album I like, which Songs of Love and Solace, is a
oh, thank you.
really good album. I have that in my car, the CD, and I listen to it when I drive. But
Yeah,
um, to me, that's one of those albums. I know people say, cliche. Oh, I listen to Kind of Blue. I listen to the classic albums. To me, this album that you did, that one is to me one of those albums people should listen to. I think it's a pinnacle album.
thank you. Wow.
It's
I
not
don't.
just, I don't look at it as an album you just decide to do and put out there. To me, it really shows it's so beautiful. That's where I came up with the term musical poet. It's just poetry, the whole album.
Oh, thank you.
You get sad, you
Um,
get happy. My mother listens to it. She was crying at one song, and I go, "What? You're crying?" She says, "It's so beautiful, it's so beautiful." And then she goes, "Put it back and play that part over." And I put the part over, and she says, "Oh, that right there, the way it drops." And it's just, that's the kind of music it is. It's a great album.
oh, thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah, we that's another one we started on many years back, actually. Six of the tracks or so were recorded quite some years ago in a very different situation, in a different time, with obviously a different board and different piano and everything else. But we managed to supplement the album with sort of newer recordings that kind of rounded out the project quite nicely. But
Yeah,
it was
no, I was just going to say, I don't want to interrupt, but I was going to say, what's your creative process? Do you write songs on piano? Do you write them on drums? Do you write chords first, the melody? Do you come up with a melody? Do you have a certain process, or is it mixed? How do you
yeah,
create a song?
in a technique, in a process. I mean, yeah, I do,
Yeah.
and this stems back to an interview, and it might have been a classical musician. Uh, but chances are it wasn't because he was talking about, or maybe a composer, where he spoke of the necessary periods of contemplation and just he also spoke about the and kept referring to tuning into the little voice inside, which I thought was just, I mean, it really reached me the way he termed it that way. And uh, whether it be the most bombastic electric music or the simplest plaintive little thing, inherent in arrangement or composition. So the, all these things start with that. There's the seed for me, and I'm sometimes nowhere near an instrument. So, and sometimes I hear a composition where, well, no, not a fully formed composition, but sometimes I have an idea for a composition and where it might occur um, inside of a larger framework, um, just well away from instrument entirely. And sometimes in a kind of dream or dream state, rather, where
Well, how do
there
you
are notes.
transition? How do you
I don't.
transition it from that to
This
the instrument?
this is the difficulty because some of these impressions, I'll call them impressions, for want of a better word, come and I feel it and I hear it, but there are no notes. So that's not exactly a lot of help.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think it's all part of the mysterious process that we can tap into by this looking into the interior
Hmm.
of and cultivating something going on with you, trying to develop on an impulse, much like
Right,
you do when we're playing live, but in this aspect we're speaking of a framework of something or a certain melodic idea that I would later go to an instrument and try and
right.
define exactly what it was. But sometimes I'm close, sometimes I'm really close, sometimes I'm nowhere near, but something else comes out of it. But all of this was a really I feel really happy that I read that interview. Um, and I have no idea who said it, but it was
Yeah.
especially meaningful to me, and it's really paid off.
Well, I have often thought of music to me has always been an intangible music to me, and what I'm getting from what you're saying too. And I kind of feel that it kind of sparked what I felt. Music is intangible. It's an intangible, unseen
Yeah,
vibration frequency that exists all around us in
yeah,
birds and traffic and basketballs hitting the ground. Everything is music. It's intangible, and we as artists have to take that intangible and bring it into the physical form so that humans can hear it in their ear and give
yeah,
it a form that they can perceive and understand in a way that makes them feel good or evokes an emotion. It isn't
hmm
language, and it's not something you think in notes, like you said. It just comes through your instrument. Your instrument speaks for you
yeah.
here.
It's a feeling. Yeah.
It's the intangible, and I think as artists, that's what we're here to do. We're here to take the intangible that people normally can't see. The average person who's working 9 to 5 or working in a coal mine or whatever they're doing, when they go home, they can put on the music, and that all of a sudden they're taken to another realm. And because that's a realm we live in, we practice
Yeah,
daily hours of our life, repetitively over and over, grueling sometimes and sometimes abusive, to get to a point where we effortlessly, we can, it just comes through us. We're a conduit
yeah,
for the source just to come
exactly.
through, and it's
Yeah,
laid out. And to me, finding your voice is just finding the voice that it's easy to bring that intangible through, where you're not
yeah,
having to put your mind, once you start thinking about it, you're diluting the intangible, the pureness of music. I think it needs to just come
mm,
through. And that's one of the things Holdsworth, I got from
mm,
Holdsworth, was that he
mm,
he left the intangible still intangible, it to some degree.
mm.
He didn't bring it to where, yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
because he was that connected to it and he was that pure with it. And I
Yeah.
think that's why, again, the series, musicians that are out there that are just trying to get clicks and viral and do fast licks and they play them 20 times till they get it right. That's all mind. That's not creativity to me. And
Yeah.
what you're saying, and I hope musicians who watch this get from you is that there's another place to go to inspire creativity that's uh, deeper than that. You know?
Yeah. You know, there was once just to you made me think of a Japanese film, and I can't remember the filmmaker or the name. I think it was called Maestro, and I think you can find it. It's all in, J in Japanese, but there are English subtitles.
Uh,
But it's about a maestro conductor who wants to retire early, and all his pupils want him to come back and keep the young band going again. You know, and he's talking to one of his former proteges at some point in the music in the film, and this guy's still confused, you know, by certain certain aspects of what it was. I really forget the exact situation, but he said, you know, music is ephemeral, and you know, you play one note, and the next moment it's gone.
mhm,
Something like that. I'm not even saying it very well. He said, but if you can find one note um, that you can find and put it in such a place that it makes such an emotional impact and impression on somebody, that note will last a lifetime.
mhm. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, really, it got
And
me.
that's true. That's a
And I was
true.
sitting there, I was asking the air hostess if you got any tissues, you know.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a truism.
I was
Yeah,
just weeping at that. That was
yeah.
so amazing.
Yeah, that's true.
So when we reflect on the extent of what's behind this whole dream aspect of life, this thing of being a musician, this searching,
Yeah,
this thing that, you know, there are certain things that I can think of like that as an example. It's,
yeah,
if somebody wants to know why I do it, that's why. I
yeah,
mean, and it may not be obvious to somebody who hears me in some kind of energy electric situation or something, but it's there. It's
yeah.
there. The same with all the people that actually that
That you
so
play
touched
with.
me
Yeah,
and inspired me. All my heroes, you know,
yeah.
they're there. They're
Hmm.
all still in my voice, you know, if I can call it my voice, because I look at it on as an extension, really, a personalized extension of what I think that and that and that and that and that and that, you know, in
Right.
some kind of mixture together, in some kind of formation. Um, this is how I vision, feel it to continue. So
Nice.
maybe if I can be seen as like a participant
Hmm.
of keeping something going, you know,
Yeah.
in thanks and tribute to all
I
these
call
people
it a
who,
cosmic messenger, like Jean-Luc
yeah,
Ponty album.
that's right. Yeah, that's right. I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So again, a bass player I was interviewing, he said that he says it's too public of a forum for me to tell you, James, but he said I've gotten emails and messages from people in Japan and other parts of the world that say a song happened during a part in their life that they were going through something or it helped them or affected them in some way that was so personal.
Yeah. Time and
It,
place.
yeah. So, but um, now, if you could choose live performance or recording, what do you prefer?
Well, two different mediums. Hey,
Yes.
sometimes they're recording a live session, so maybe there's I mean they
You- you- it's not a
yeah,
game. It's not.
yeah. But it's up on
I'll give them an
YouTube.
answer, but I'll, Like the Star Trek episode.
Yeah.
But how did he win that? They're not supposed to be able to win this battle. How did he win it?
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, that's funny.
now when you
Um,
when you
th
when
no,
you
that's an interesting that's an interesting
yeah,
question. I mean, I personally, I would I just want to know that I'm serving the music is
yeah,
co you know, okay, correctly, no, um, in a way that it deserves to be served. I'm giving it something. I want to feel like I'm doing something for it. And in that, there's a certain exuberance. You know, we have musicians to whether it lies in the realm of something understated or something way out and pushing, you know, in with the intention of creating some kind of musical movement, some experience, and knowing that that is, you know, it's like a big dive into the unknown, doesn't it? You take a
sure.
chance and you just go. This was very clear to me in the musicians who most particularly influenced me. They were all unbelievable chance takers.
Yeah. Well, it
And that
seems like for when you're live, when you're playing with musicians, you're having that in the moment conversation. In a studio, it's obviously a more controlled environment,
yeah,
retakes, things like that. I I I think most musicians probably prefer to play live. I know I do because you're in those magic moments that happen. Somebody's soloing and maybe it's the third night you've played with them, but all of a sudden they're having this magic moment and then you just keep it going. Everybody feels it and they're not going to go where they were supposed to go because he's
yeah,
whereas when you're recording, I mean, when I record my songs that I release, I do everything live except for the album we did, but everything is
yeah,
live. I don't want
yeah.
to do overdubs because that's where the magic is. But most musicians I know prefer live performance over recording. I actually am starting to love recording more. But I do love playing with other musicians because I'm interacting and
Well, that's yeah, because I think some of if we have favorite performances of ourselves, they're not just down to us. They're down
yeah,
to the
collective.
interaction and what came about in us, you know,
Yeah,
as the participants collectively,
yeah,
and not something that we just did. But I guess sort of the experience of working in studios and forming music in a kind of recording environment exclusively gives you um, an understanding that I mean, you want that to be representative of a certain mood. You'd like to hear that the
mhm,
tune really gets pretty lively at this point, and at that moment particularly because it would mean so much more for it to
mhm,
happen there before some kind of ending or
yeah.
resolution comes about, and you so you I guess you start with the shape, but you want the playing to be
It's like writing a book almost. You're writing a book with
yeah.
a beginning, a middle, and then the end
But live, of course, it's happening. It's
in the
almost out
moment.
of
Yeah,
yeah, and it's out of our hands.
yeah, and that's the excitement of it. I think when you that's where you find your voice too. I think because you and where you get confidence with your voice and in that sense where you can play with any musician. I love like the guys that I play record with. I don't have to give them charts and all that. I just they know my style, they know my playing. We're connected. So when we get in there, I don't say do this and do that. I give them a feel for what I want, but I want their voice to come in. And if it takes
Yeah,
two takes, I'm good with that. And then that inspires me too, because if I
yeah,
solo, the backtrack that I've been practicing to at home when I get there, I don't play at all like I did when I was practicing. But
mm.
now, when you're touring, you tour a lot and you're gone from home a lot, and you have a significant other. Um, how is that when you're traveling and being apart from the person you love or your partner, the person is it, how do you both deal with that? How does that work?
Well, a lot easier than we could years ago. But
Yeah,
you know, with all our gadgets now and
yeah.
FaceTime and everything else. But it's a wrench. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. It's horrible. I mean, especially on those sort of weaker moments, you know, or maybe if you get sick on the road, which is the worst thing,
Yeah.
you just want to, it's like, God, you just want to go home. But no, I mean, the music will drag you around every time. So, I mean, I'm under no doubt why I'm there, you know, and
Right.
I'm not there to get away from my significant other for a little
Right.
while or my family.
And how does
Uh,
that, how does she deal with the fact that you're gone a lot? Is it,
very
I mean, it
well.
takes a lot of patience and that's work too. I mean, and that shows that connection is strong when that person is there and that because like for instance,
Yeah.
my love lives in France and she comes every 4 or 5 months to visit. It's very tough.
Yeah. Right.
But when you have that love connection, you always feel like they're with you when you're apart. That's got to that's great that you have that
Yeah.
relationship where you're able to do what you do and travel and still have that strong connection. Sounds like,
Yeah, I was lucky to. We're all lucky if we find that, man.
yeah.
So, you know, yeah,
But a lot of people don't think about that. Musicians, if they're on tour, that they're going to have to leave someone or their pet or whatever. And then when you're at home, I know a lot of musicians when they're touring, they have sound checks and then they're doing the gig and they next day they have sound check and a gig. Their practice routine isn't the same. Do you have a different practice routine at home? Or do you take a break when you're at home or do you practice and do warm up when you're on the road? How does that work?
uh, not so much. Maybe minimal warmth. I mean, I can just take a pair of sticks and lay on a pillow or something,
Yeah.
and just get my wrists moving, get my fingers moving, get my feeling at one with the sticks and whatever
So,
else,
so
and that's it. I
the
don't really
sound
work
check is pretty
anything.
much probably the practice or the
It's yeah, sound checks. I mean, sometimes you can have unbelievable sound checks,
yeah, and you wish
and
you
the
had it
gig.
recorded.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and the gigs absolutely pale in comparison to them.
yeah.
You know, it doesn't work
I've
out anything
been there,
like, you
been
know,
there. Yeah.
and you wish I've got a favorite story of working with John McLaughlin, and I remember him. We came and we did this really extended sound check rehearsal, and we were going really in depth on a form of something, and we sort of planned it between us. John came up with really what eventually the plan we were supposed to go with, but you know, we were all putting input in and you know, to like how it would be nice if maybe this person played that before that turnaround and then it could go to somebody else's thing and then this duet. So I mean the whole routining aspect of putting a piece together.
Yeah.
And we did it and we had it kind of formed. It's like when we were going to do it that night, we went and had, you know, some dinner or whatever, came back, played the show. Third tune in was that very song. And John just launched into his solo first, which is completely out with what we discussed and formulated. And I'm looking at him going, when were we supposed to be? And he kind of caught me, you know, he came over with his guitar. He said, that was the rehearsal. This is the gig. Gotta love that, man. You
Yeah.
know.
Um, and then now you just you just are sponsoring with a new symbol, Sabian, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit how that happened and are you helping them
Uh,
design or what's
I think what you have to go through just to the necessary you know, with an instrument, it's of course guitar, anything, wind instruments, brass instruments. Um, you have to find something that kind of you're really on the hunt to find something that responds to you um, in ways that it becomes effortless.
hmm
It's so I finally found really basically for the first time in my life symbols that absolutely emotionally respond to me. That they give me everything I'm giving them and everything I'm trying to get from them, they give me. It's very hard to explain, but
No,
it just
I totally get it. Yeah.
in the application, yeah, just application of certain types of playing, how they adjust to me dynamically, how they, obviously the degrees
It
of
almost gives you
wash.
more freedom when you have that kind of connection with something that you can get the response you find that you have more, you can express yourself more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And nothing greater than when the sound you're hearing back is just really stimulating to you,
Yeah.
and I'm just, I've got such a sort of beautiful choir of cymbals now. I'm just over the moon, and
Yeah.
it pushes me. It makes everything
Now, do you
so
help
much
them
more.
design them, or do you
No,
you
no, it was
you
just
just
this
found
particular.
something you like, and then now
Yes,
you're partnering with them, and you want to let people know.
yeah.
Um, and then what symbols did you play before?
Well, I had a short term with Paiste cymbals, which was a very interesting period. I mean, there were certain things I I had to approach what they did
Right.
and their ranges in a very kind of unorthodox way. In that I had to really separate symbols. I'd find something of a particular range that I liked,
Right.
but I didn't like anything else that went
Hmm.
accompanying it in that range. So I got something from a completely drastically different
Right.
characteristic, and put that with this symbol, and somehow they would go together in a very interesting way. So that they've got something provocative when they resonate together. So and it went on like this: hi-hats from another range, something else. So it turned into a very specialized choir of cymbals that I
Right.
acquired from them because I didn't find enough in the respective ranges that gave me what I was looking for.
So it sounds like this one has more of a,
This it's all those problems have gone now.
yeah, yeah,
You
that's
know,
great because that's now you don't have to think about it. You can just create and not, yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I went to Sweetwater, a great studio in was it Indiana?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Uh, and I was recording with Robin Ford there, and what had been supplied for me was just not really very happening
So,
and wasn't making me feel good at all. And I said, "You don't have any Sabian cymbals here, do you?" They say, "Yeah, we have Sabian," and they just went. I said, grab me a 22-inch ride, kind of medium hi-hats, a China, three crash cymbals, and they came in with each, and it was whatever he chose, whatever the shelf they were on, he just gave it. I put them up, and it was like a dream. So that tells me something.
yeah, no, no, that's that's amazing. When you
Yeah.
travel, do you use backline drums? Do you have on your rider, do you say I want this kind of drums, or do you travel with your kit?
No, I don't.
Right. Just
But
cymbals, maybe? Or,
I, I have the advantages of a particular kind of arrangement with pearl drums now, which I've been using for many years, where um, and it really harkens back to this feeling of union with the instrument itself and familiarity and a certain uh, feeling of absolutely resonating with this instrument, and it resonating with you. So that's with Pearl, and it basically can be anything they make.
okay. So when you
I mean,
when you
I'm sufficiently old school enough to go that listen, I could I don't mind. I can play anything.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
So
I'm not saying that to be boastful or anything. I'm just saying
no,
that
yeah, yeah,
if you're a drummer, you want to get something out, you will get it out of the
yeah.
kit, whether or not it's
What your
beautifully,
ideal, yeah,
yeah. If the
yeah,
response is can be great, medium, terrible, or fantastic. And
You know,
and usually with Pearl drum. So when I'm on the road, yeah,
on the
sounds like the
road again.
commercial. Yeah, when I'm on the road,
Road rat.
seemed funny. Sorry. And then so I played sort of backline Pearl drums.
Okay.
I just asked for the heads of my choice to be new heads, and they do it.
And you
And
bring your own symbols
but
or
cymbals is a little bit of a different thing because
yeah,
that's a real gamble.
right. So you bring your own symbols.
I try to do whenever I can, yeah.
Yeah, that
And
makes sense.
sometimes I just take the risk.
Yeah,
But again, with a company like Sabian now, it's so much of a more dependable situation. It doesn't matter. I can just ask for something,
yeah, yeah.
and they'll and I know it's going to be great.
Right.
So
Well, that
it's
story you said about you can play anything and still get your sound reminds me of a
yeah.
story Dean told me. He was playing at a club in New York a long time ago, and he had, I think, a Fender Reverb or some amp, and he was playing his guitar, and George Benson walked in
Uh-huh.
and was watching his band play, and they invited George to come up and play, and he took um, Dean's guitar through Dean's amp, and he made it sound like a George Benson guitar. He
You know,
sounded he sounded like George Benson. Dean goes, it sounded like he was playing through his set. So
man, it's just more weight to this theory that the sound is us. It
yeah,
really is us. It's born
yeah,
of us. I've tried. I mean, I know that a lot of my younger years, I was dramatic. I was going to dramatic um, levels of exertion to try to change my sound. There
mm,
were certain aspects of the sound I made on drums I just didn't want anymore. Could I do it? No.
yeah,
And it's still I'm still making the same sound I made as a 16-year-old.
yeah,
It's just I can't change it.
yeah,
And
yeah.
now I don't want to change it. I just want to okay, since that's what I have, I'll make the best of it and I'll finally at my old age I realize that.
So what's the best piece of advice another musician has given you that sticks in your head, always kind of stuck with you that as part of something that guides you on your journey? What's the best piece of advice some musician's ever given you?
Dance like you dance when nobody's watching. I don't know. I mean there are many.
Yeah,
Uh
share them because there's, the viewers might benefit from.
I think just go to music from a very sincere place, mean it. Dean said that.
Yeah.
He said mean it,
Yeah.
and take courage if you've got like even a moderate solo to do, just a standard 8 bar length or something like that. Come to it differently each time
Mm,
and go on a little road of discovery during and become in tune with your instincts. Have it be clear inside of you so that it could not form what you're going to do, but it supports you.
yeah.
It's kind of definitely I feel it to be a support system. So much so that other times it isn't a support system at all. It completely lets you down. It's
Hmm.
like, oh, my instinct will take care of this. No, it doesn't. So, but I realize in its wisdom, it's doing the necessary. We bring about a thing I think all instrumentalists do. One I like to call recovery. Many people call it like that. So you just launch into something that you really didn't was not a kind of ideal kind of idea for this spot in the tune, or nor did it really go very well over the chord or something. And and you go, okay, I need to make an adjustment fast. And you you learn so much about yourself in those moments. And
Hmm.
and and I think the necessary thing is to really be open to the wisdom that we've acquired down the years, not necessarily all of which that we know about or have really in turn internalized to the extent we can analyze them or intellectualize on them or anything, but it's just an intrinsic thing. This everything you've ever done helps you in what you're applying yourself to now. And we're talking about experience, really. Just putting yourself in just about every different situation, all of it being
Yeah.
really, really bearing fruit in from a myriad of ways of looking at it, for your confidence, from your belief. Look at actors. They say when you go in front of a camera or you walk on the stage, believe, believe, believe.
Yeah.
Watch Anthony Hopkins say this,
Yeah.
this is what it is. This is what it is. And you're there because somebody wants you there, or somebody's,
Right.
invited you there, and you can find something. I think the belief aspect is something.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's a fight, and not to be discouraged about that. And many times it's a fight, even later on in somebody's life of experience, it's still a fight sometimes. And sometimes it's the easiest thing in the world. You just can't stop. Things are tumbling out of you at great moments, and
Mhm.
you manage to shape something, and you think, wow, great. And then immediately people start thinking, what did I have a little beer before playing or something? Or did I do a certain thing, not eat, for instance, before
Mhm.
the show, So next time you try exactly the same thing, it doesn't
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
So it's all, you can't, as soon as you really get used to the fact that we really don't have final say on what's going to happen at all, then I think it's the moment we're getting somewhere, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's where the term love, devotion, and surrender comes into play.
Absolutely.
You have to
Absolutely.
just surrender to the music. I had an epiphany when I was about 16 years old. I was meditating on a hill above my home and over a 10,000 acre state park. It was 4 in the morning, and I was into bhakti yoga with Sri Chinmoy, and I was into all that because I was into McLaughlin, and I got motivated and got initiated. And a voice came to me, and it said, "You're a conduit, and music is a pure energy, and it comes through you. And you're, as a conduit, you have to learn to let it come through you without you putting your concept of what you will think it's supposed to be and look at, and just let it come through pure, so it'll touch
Yeah.
others that way."
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
Exactly.
that's
That's
that's all
it.
you
That's it.
you just surrender to it. Yeah, you surrender to
That's
the
what
source.
that's what any great producer is looking from his newfound
Yeah.
protege singer.
Yeah.
You
Well,
just sing me that song,
and it,
make
and it
that
brings,
song.
and when you said have a lot of experiences, that brings to the point what I was saying earlier in my semi monologue, is that a lot of the artists that are on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok that do 20 guitar riffs or drum thing for till they get the perfect one, and then they go viral and they make money off of it. They're in a room by themselves. They're not experiencing anything but themselves and a reflection of themselves, but they're not experiencing other people and the whole interaction that we've been talking about this whole time. And I think it's really important for musicians that are doing that, and they won't
Yeah.
be, they're making $20,000 a month doing that. They're not going to go out and play and lug their gear around and all that, but I recommend it because it's part of the journey. It's part of the work you have to do, the turmoil, just like Siddhartha went through all the suffering to become a Buddha. It's the whole,
Yeah.
um, you have to
Yeah.
go through the suffering and to really have a voice too. A story that came to
Yeah.
mind when you were talking too was about when you may already know it, when Dean went to audition for Billy Cobham. And I don't know if you know, but he was in New York, and a friend said that Billy Cobham was looking for a guitarist, and I think it was the 30th one, probably anniversary or one of those. And he was on his way out the door. He had his guitar and everything, and phone rang, and they said, "Bill doesn't want to see anybody today, so don't come." So Dean went to the store and bought a 12 pack of beer, was smoking pot, drinking beer, and he was on his sixth beer or whatever, and the
Yeah.
phone rang and said, Billy wants you here in 20 minutes. So so he's drunk, he's stoned, he's in his t-shirt laying on the couch watching TV,
Yeah.
and he
But
went down there and he said the sheet music was 9 feet long. I can't
oh
remember
yeah.
the song. And he played and he walked up and down while he played. And Billy walked out of the room and he started packing his stuff up, figuring Billy wasn't even going to say bye. He was just going to leave. And then Billy came back and said, what are you doing for the next 6 months? So those
That's
experiences will
I
only
didn't know that
happen.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those experiences will only happen if you get out there in the world. And
Yeah, that's true.
yeah,
That's true. And so many of since we're talking, so many of these situations have come about by me trying to orchestrate them, me trying to get to the attention of people that I would most like to play with, like certain artists. Um, I mean, I used to follow. I used to turn up and see John McLaughlin. I had a contact who knew where he was. When the moment he was sort of anywhere near Britain or wherever, or in America, this would happen, and I'd just show up. And I wanted to be someone he knew about, to the point where I could then start giving him recorded things. And
mhm,
I mean, this whole other aspect of being a musician and
right.
and striving towards getting into a situation that you ideally want to find yourself in.
Yeah. And
And
which,
you have to be persistent. You have to,
yeah.
go for it.
Yeah. Well, you have to
And
make your opportunities happen, just like in the movie business. If you don't go to the auditions and get rejected 100 times, you're not going to get that one break.
that,
That's just part of it. And since we're on that
yeah.
topic, what are your thoughts on the current music landscape with the streaming and the AI and the digital? I know they're all tools that can be used and embraced to some degree. And of course, the payment of streaming, musicians can only really, I don't know what it's like touring uh, as far as income stream. Is it more difficult now than it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago?
I haven't really had a chance to research accurately what's going on with, but I do know there's been an overwhelming rejection of something which will benefit musicians. I can't even speak about it, but true. My wife said to me, "Yeah, it'd be something exciting to watch. I think it's going to work out pretty good at the moment. There's a huge rejection to certain copyright. Anyway, whatever it is, I'll find out. But I'm not really attracted. Really, I'm not attracted to it in the least. Um, just to be able to sit there and make these movies of people we know in bizarre situations, which is life impersonating life, and
Oh, yeah, I see what
this.
you're saying.
I don't want any. I'm not interested
Right,
at
right.
all. And as
So,
far as it entering music, at the moment, I mean, maybe in 5 years or 10 years, I'll turn around and say, well, actually, this way of working with this in this area and integrating AI for this purpose only,
mhm,
but not, it's nothing to do with the creation of music. Not from,
right.
this is comes from the heart and the soul of human beings
Hmm.
to reach another human being. And the
Yeah,
day that becomes different on a largely commonplace
right.
sort of footing, I'm not so sure want to be involved
Well,
anymore.
yeah, yeah. And humans can only feel emotion. Machines can't, obviously. And that's where a lot of us as
Yeah.
artists, we're about emotion. That's what we are.
I mean, I'm
Um,
hearing a lot of the healthiest aspects of a lot of the songwriters themselves are
yeah,
using AI
yeah,
to. I'm not sure what for. I've never even tried to even use it, and there'll be people going,
yeah.
"Well,
And
perhaps you should, and get some experience before you talk about it." But I'm just talking about it from as much as I do understand about it. I would love to see. this magnificent intelligence being applied to
Yeah.
illnesses we cannot cure and viruses, and I would love it to I'd love to see a situation in the world which, you know, I'm
Well,
not
we
really
don't want it to
interested.
get to a place where 50 years from now, people are listening to digital music and then they find a recording of a humans playing music. Go, look, we used to play music as humans.
Like
Look,
that.
I found
Yeah. Yeah.
this thing.
Yeah.
If it gets to that, I think you're fortunate. I'm fortunate. We got to live through, 60s, 70s, that whole 80s. Um,
True.
music, music
Yeah.
was an incredible time. We got to live through an incredible music time.
We did. But
Yeah,
James, I still want to look forward. I mean, the next
of
day is my
course.
best.
But
So
I'm saying we're very lucky. And again, the reason I like doing these series is because I want these young people to know that or may watch this, that there's this whole other organic human side to music other than just the digital.
oh my God, yeah. Yeah.
And here is Gary Husband, who's the epitome of what it is to be a working musician playing at the top of his game. Um,
Wow.
like the no, it's like the the quarterback. You know, they say the band is only as good as its drummer, and drums to me, I write most of my songs based on rhythm, believe it or not chords,
Yeah.
not whatever. I To me, rhythm is it's life, and for drum to when you have a drummer that it just carries it. It's like if they hear what you're doing, you're soloing, and they play off of you, and they hear you going up the neck, and all of a sudden they start going up with you. It's like there's that moment together, or everything comes down and they're over on a
Yeah.
cymbal. They're not even
Yeah.
hitting. It creates the whole dynamics of a song.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really does. To me, everything else is kind of color, but the anchor to me is that. Now, if you could have any profession, real or unreal, either do it or not life, other than being a musician, what would it be?
Formula One driving.
Hmm?
But I'm way too old and too broke to be a Formula One driver.
Okay. Not a chef, something simple like
But
that, huh?
oh,
School
terrible.
teacher.
Uh, I've still got three meals I can make right now.
You want to be a
But
form, you want to be, no, I'm saying you could, it could be real or unreal, that you could imagine being in. Now, if you, do you have anything else you wanted to share before we end the conversation about upcoming shows or albums out
oh,
that you've collaborated with or?
well, I mean, there's a very nice record out at the moment, but it just came out, and it was a session with John McLaughlin about 6 years ago. We did a session for a movie, and these uh, specific pieces, each of them were for fell in line with the original direction given to him by the people who were making the movie. There was never any film shot actually, and the characters he didn't know what they looked like, but they were described to him in the text and reading the script. And it's a story about redemption, and it would, I think, have made a really quite a powerful movie carrying quite powerful messages. But the movie it never got made.
Not
But
yet.
the music did.
Yeah.
So there is that movie doesn't exist. So it's like music for a non-existing movie.
Or you can
But
make your own movie of
but
your
the
life.
stuff actually the story is there. So maybe it could kind of
Yeah.
go halfway to becoming known about. But the music just took on a really special vibe in the studio, and Etienne
What's the
Mbappe
name?
was there.
What's the name of the
It's
album?
called Music for Abandoned Places, which was the
Nice.
the title of the album,
What a great
and
name.
it's on a special, a very um, incredible audiophile label. Um, I'm not remembering the name, but you'll find it if you look up "Music for Abandoned Places," and
Okay.
do it as a CD and an SA, yeah, an SACD,
Okay.
um, which you can play, but you don't hear
Yeah.
the audiophile
Yeah.
standard
Well, one of the
benefits.
things that I was going to say too, that we not just the decades that we got to experience musically, 70s, 60s, and then the 80s, but also the great labels. CTI was a great label,
Oh
great
yeah.
music. That whole period of music that came out with Grover
Oh God.
Washington and
Freddie
Airto
Hubbard,
with the
Bill Jackson.
fingers. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah. Yeah.
so much great music and Joe Farrell and you know
Don Sebastian arrangements.
oh just so much music that would came out all at once. Uh,
Yeah.
it was like a period of just this incredible body of music and CTI and then the other ECM
Yep.
recording. All those
Yep.
labels were like huge and the covers were beautiful. They were bright and vibrant and
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
but we really
Well,
got a good time.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's lamentable that we probably won't see that again in our lifetime, but I think there are other ways of coming up with things that are equally as inspiring and that make
And
you
you,
feel good. But I'm into the physical media. I mean, this free this the streaming thing.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, yeah.
I actually just want to do a study on who's actually behind that now and who's actually recognizing any benefit from streaming,
Well, the
aside from the corporate people, of course, you
well,
know.
yeah, and the Kiss bass player just went before Congress and says you're making $40 billion to the CEO. He says just give us a billion. We'll be happy with a billion. Let the artists have a $1 billion. But
Yeah.
the thing is that it used to be maybe 10, 15 years ago, 9,000 songs came out a month, and now 60,000 songs come out a day, and over 60 million songs a year don't get one play on Spotify. So, you know, I think vinyl is making a comeback. CDs are actually making a comeback, but the record industry is getting they're letting go of a lot of employees. They're streamlining because they're getting more into catalog acquisition. They're getting into smaller teams. They're not into the hands-on talent like they used to be. It's changing,
Yeah.
but I think
Yeah.
it's an opportunity for small record companies to start manifesting and putting out music because it's becoming a novelty to have vinyl and a record player and CDs now. So
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a shift. I think it's not all going to just be streaming like everyone, the doomsdayers say. I think there's other opportunities out there for the organic music still to exist. It just
Uh,
has to create its own world and become strong in itself. That's what I
yeah. Yeah. Obviously to
yeah.
reestablish.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
I think again, musicians like you and other ones I'll be interviewing, I think it's great for younger musicians to see and hear these words because um, it'll be some input. One little beam of light can light up a whole dark room. It's um,
That's it. Yeah.
and I'm hoping that these conversations will spark things in young musicians to get out there and not just get stuck in the digital world of things.
Yeah. It's not an existence I would particularly like at all.
No, no, no.
I,
It's not would be it's not natural.
I want to I need to be inspired and the
Yeah,
coexistence with other musicians. And that's,
yeah,
I mean, I'm that era. You're that era.
yeah,
You know, we're I couldn't live without that.
yeah. And
So
the fortunate thing is again you get to play with inspiring musicians that are still playing. A lot as you know over the last
yeah.
5 years, a lot of great musicians have been passing away because they're all in their 70s and 80s, and it's
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know it's a changing, and that's why I want to get voices heard from people that are still around.
Yeah.
If Dean was here, I would have him on for sure.
Oh yeah, like a shot. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
That would
yeah.
I
And
would I would be tuning in for that.
oh yeah, and as you can see, I have him up above me all the time.
Yeah,
He's
I see.
always around, and I think about him every day. He's a great guy. Anyway, I want to thank you for the conversation and
Thank you,
kicking it
man.
off. And I want
Yeah.
to wish everybody out there a happy New Year's. Um, it's great to start off the new year with you, Gary, launching my new series, and hopefully we can
Uh,
talk again.
well, I'm
And
touched that you approached me about it, James. It's always we've, I hope that's not all the recording we do, but I sure had a great time on the last one. So
yeah,
thank,
well, you're a
thank you.
busy guy, so it's.
Yeah. It's been busy lately. Yeah.
And one last thing on the album you did with Robin Ford, is that going to be released or has it been released?
Yeah, I think it will come out kind of imminently. Um, so they're actually, I think it's called Two Shades of Blue. I could be
Okay.
wrong. And it was actually we the core band for the initial sessions were Daryl Jones, Larry Goldings, and myself, um, along with Robin. But for whatever reason, certain of those takes didn't get used, and Robin was also kind of moving on with a new lineup in Britain, like a organ trio lineup. So half the album is kind of like that, and it's a nice kind of meeting of the two lineups, really, the two
Oh,
shades of blue. It's nice,
oh,
and and,
okay.
and there's some strong stuff on that record, I think. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Looking forward to that. All right. Well,
Robin's
thanks
sounding
again.
great.
Thanks again for joining.
Thank you, James. Keep
And
everything. And
people can find you at your web. You have a website.
yeah, I do have a website. I don't know if I tried to look at everybody's website the other day, and there are far there are so little of them
Yeah,
still around.
yeah,
You
yeah.
just like page not found, and
And they can also find you obviously Instagram. And
Instagram, Facebook,
yeah, yeah. And
yeah.
follow what's going on and hopefully catch your shows and stuff. All right. Well, thanks
Yeah,
again, Gary.
I do put all my live stuff on my website. There's the live shows section, so
Right.
I think websites are still good for that. But
Okay.
once again, I'm really happy you asked me, man. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
You too, James. Happy holidays, man.